So this is the first video in a series providing an introduction to NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is a set of personal development and communication tools that we've seen have major positive impacts on individuals and businesses. So in this video, I want to explain what it is, the benefits of it, some of the misconceptions around NLP, and then I'll end with some common presuppositions of NLP which can be used to radically improve your communication skills. We'll be launching a series of short videos, each exploring different elements of NLP that'll give you a nice introduction to the field. Ahoy, Peter here from Brighter Training, where we aim to improve your personal and business performance by sharing tools, techniques, and research to help you achieve your goals and outcomes. If you haven't already, please remember to hit like and subscribe. It helps us know that we're on the right track and it makes us do a high five. So welcome back also to our current subscribers too. We're most grateful for your support and for your feedback. So let's start with the definitions of NLP. According to John Grinder and Richard Bandler, who founded NLP, it is the study and structure of subjective experience. Now, the purpose of NLP is to study, describe, and transfer models of human excellence. Now, for me, NLP is an advanced tool that radically improves communications with both other individuals and the self. It examines the unique way in which the world is experienced, coded, and stored by an individual, and as a result, it allows change to occur with volition by working directly with the components of experience via specific processes instead of just dealing with the content. But the simplest way to explain what it is to break down the components of the actual name. Now, neuro explores the neurological relationship and interaction between our body and our mind. Linguistic, how we communicate and are communicated with, both verbally and non-verbally. And programming, the patterns and codes of reactions, behaviours and emotions, and the habits, conscious or unconscious, which are our lifelong means of expression. On a practical level, it's about modelling a person's behaviour and results so that it can be taught. So the aim of communication with NLP is to read the person you are communicating with and change and evolve your message and communication to match their preferences and their strategies. So NLP is about process, it's not about the content. So what are some of the benefits of NLP? Well, it assumes that all beliefs and behaviours are based on a set of instructions or strategies. Think of them like a program that tells a machine what to do. We tend to automate most of our activities, and some studies actually suggest that up to 95% of our activities are unconscious. So if you can learn the program, you can make changes to the code that isn't producing the results that you want. You can identify how a belief or a behaviour is formed, and you can therefore work to make improvements directly at the source, so to speak. Now, hence with NLP, the content really doesn't matter. It's the structure that's actually important. Now, you can use this to identify the programs of successful people and model what they do. That can save you a lot of time. You can better understand why people think the way they do, and you can tailor your communication to adapt to their reality, hence minimizing conflict and improving rapport with them. I also find it incredibly powerful in counseling and coaching because you don't need to focus on the content, and the content is often highly emotional or irrational, and instead you can focus on the process underlying the behavior or the beliefs. Of course, there are good NLP practitioners and there are bad. I've seen some people offer a full qualification in only a weekend. So as a result, there are some common misconceptions associated with it. Firstly, that it's tree-hugging, soft and fluffy pseudoscience. Now, good practitioners are focused on repeatable techniques and results without assigning spiritualism or other dogma into it. The fact that it is repeatable and structured does at least show a degree of scientific method. I think anything to do with behaviour and the brain is always going to struggle to be 100% fact-based because people are complex systems. Secondly, it's just hypnosis, people say. And look, while NLP does include hypnosis and a technique, it's not about mind control, mind reading, or other performances that you see on TV and in the movie. Hypnosis is simply a tool which is effective for some people to help them understand situations without conscious resistance getting in their way. I also used to hear that NLP has no relevance to business operation or leadership, And of course, now it's used in the military, in science fields, and in global corporations, not to mention individual therapy and self-development. So my advice is that, as with most things, test it out. If it works for you, then great. No one's forcing anybody to use these tools. Finally, I often hear that it's just common sense or things that people do anyway. And yes, some of it is. Some things you may find that you do naturally. However, what you may not know is how you do it or why you do it. So NLP allows you to explore the skills and use them with volition. It allows you to also impart your skills to others, which is really handy. However, it's not a hard science. It's based on hypotheses and experience. There's a common quote in NLP, which is believe nothing, test everything. And that's the beauty of this system. It's not a rigid dogma. It's a set of tools that you can apply, you can test, and you can adjust. So it's about flexibility and it's about growth. So for this final part of the introduction, I would just like to quickly explore something called presuppositions of NLP. Now, when exploring NLP and communicating with other people, there are presuppositions that we make. These are basically a set of rules that we assume to be true. They may not be, but if you pretend they are, it greatly increases your ability to communicate effectively with others, and it gives you more flexibility and options in general. So take the time to really reflect on each of these elements. Think about a challenging conversation that you've recently had, and consider how it could go if you apply these assumptions to that. So the first presupposition or assumption says you cannot not communicate, or you cannot not respond. So even sitting still in silence, you will still be communicating information to an observer, particularly via non-verbal cues and unconscious physiological reactions. The second assumption or presupposition is the map is not the territory. Now what that means is we take in information about the world via our five senses, and our brain uses that to make a map or representation of the world around us. And that's based on our personal values, our beliefs, and our filters. This assumption states that no matter how detailed that map is that you create, it's not the real world. It's just the part that you focus on. And this is really important to understand, as it's another way of saying there's always another way to see things. Your way is not the only way. Now, next we have one that says respect for the other person's model of the world. So we've just talked about creating the map, and the map is not the territory. Well, other people, their map is correct for them. So it may not match yours, and you may not agree, but you will get a lot further in communication if you have respect for their model. Now, the next one is the person with the most flexibility of behavior will have the most influence. So keeping open-minded and willing to change and grow means that if something doesn't work or you don't get the response that you want, you can try something different. Then something different again. The more flexible you can be, there's a greater chance that you'll have of finding a solution. Now, this one's a great one. It says the meaning of the communication is the response that you get. Basically, it doesn't matter what you intend to communicate. The response you receive from someone is what they heard. You may hear people say things like, no, you misunderstood what I'm saying. But this instead encourages you to think, I must not have been clear. How can I phrase it differently? So again, it doesn't matter what you intend to communicate. It's about the response that you get and having that flexibility to find a positive outcome with people. Now, another one which a lot of people know is there's no failure, only feedback. And I think that's a great assumption to make. This assumption stops you getting down and focuses your attention on learning opportunities and optimism. Asking, what can I learn from this, is way more powerful than I failed. Another one is every behavior has a positive intention, or another phrasing of that is anything anyone does makes sense to them at that moment. Now, whether you believe it or not, if you pretend that it's true, then you can look at a way of changing the behavior that you don't like by understanding the positives that they get out of it. And yes, even the worst thing you can think of has a positive intention for the person doing it. The moment you judge, you limit options. Now, before you resist that one, keep in mind, I'm not saying these are necessarily true. It's just another way of, if you make the assumption that it is true, it gives you a lot more flexibility in your communication. Now, the next assumption is experience has structure, and this is a foundation of NLP. Identify the strategies and patterns that someone followed to achieve a particular outcome, and you increase your odds of achieving it yourself. And the last one is people are not their behaviours, so respect the person and work on the behaviour instead. So hopefully that gives you some basic understanding about what NLP is. We're really big believers in NLP concepts within business, leadership and communication, as it allows you to communicate with the person in front of you without putting people in boxes or segmenting customers by type or using fixed labels such as with personality profiling. To explore some more elements of NLP to see how it can be used to improve your own performance, communication or leadership skills, check out our other videos in our Introduction to NLP series. And of course, we run live training sessions on many of the elements and applications of NLP. So for more information on those or any of our other programs, reach out to us at any time. Our contact information can be found on our website, which is listed in the description below. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching and have a great day.